appreciate your time and for being with us this afternoon. And I wanted to share with you that you will have 10 minutes for your presentation. Should we, I think, close the...
Yes, we should.
Thank you. Sorry. One sec.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much.
Wait one sec, because we want you to have the privacy. And the other thing I wanted to share with you before you speak, there's going to be a timer that comes on, that 10 minutes. There you go. You'll have 10 minutes to make your presentation, and then that will be followed up by a 20-minute question and answer. And yeah, do you all know where your buttons are to speak? It's to your left. Yes, and just like before, when you see this lit up like this, you know that the mic is turned on and we can hear you. So can we get the clock? Oh wait, don't start it yet. Okay. So feel free to speak, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for hosting us today. My name is James Melcher, and I will be the leader of the audit services being provided to CalPERS. I have been with Deloitte for 18 years in the audit practice. I spend a lot of my time auditing investment management funds, some of which CalPERS are investors in. And I also spend a chunk of my time auditing pension funds of varying natures and complexities. To be very honest, when I heard about the opportunity to be part of the CalPERS proposal team, I really wanted to jump at the chance. Having grown up in California and spending most of my life here, I actually have family members who are hardworking government employees who are now at or about retirement age. And I know them, I speak with them, and I know how much the pension means to them right now and into their future. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to say I'm humbled to be here, and I thank you for your oversight in instituting a strong system of internal control and also providing governance in making selections like your financial statement auditor. So thank you for that. So in the interest of respecting your time, I will first quickly introduce our team, but I hope you'll get a chance to speak with them directly during the Q&A process. So first, Julie Quinn. Julie Quinn is the office managing partner here in Sacramento, and she leads our more than 250 professionals. She's also the head of the nonprofit organization practice for the greater Sacramento area. She also has been a consultant for 25 years in providing services for state and local governments, including from time to time projects on CalPERS. Julie's role partially is because we are a national practice that has people from everywhere, but we want to make sure we have a strong local presence serving you here in Sacramento. So Julie has the ability to make sure that our on-site supervisor, our managers, and the staff that we have will get essentially everything they need to do their job to be able to serve you timely and honestly as perfectly as they can. Next is Catherine Dobbeck to my left. I actually met Catherine my very first week at the firm at Deloitte, and we've been working on pension audits together ever since. She is the co-lead of our West Region Benefit Plan practice, and she also sits on the AICPA expert panel for the employee benefit plans. She has over 25 years of experience in providing financial statement audits for all types of pension plans, and she will bring that expertise to the team. To my right is Tim Mundy. I've known Tim now for over a decade, and with $350 billion of assets on the balance sheet that need to be fair valued as part of the audit, I will tell you unequivocally there is no other person I would rather have on this team. Not only is he a national managing partner in our practice, but he also has audited every type of investment management client, from very large to very small, and any investment strategy that you can make, he's been involved in. Long-short equity, venture capital, private equity, direct lending, derivatives overlay, you name it, he can do it. So I'm very, very, very pleased to have him on the team. Peter Mann, to my far left here, is our government retirement systems specialist. Like me, he's been with Deloitte for 18 years, and like me, he grew up in California. He has most recently served as the lead engagement partner on the Utah retirement systems and brings a wealth of knowledge in the world of GASB. And to my far right, last but not least, is Michael DeLeon. He'll be our lead actuarial specialist, and he heads up Deloitte Consulting's public sector retirement actuarial practice for the nation. He has over 20 years of experience in providing retirement actuarial services, including recent stints at the University of California Systems and working with Peter on the Utah retirement systems. So that is the team. So as I was reading through your 2018 Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, it was not lost on me the amount of change that CalPERS is facing. The strategic plan, the 2017 to 22 strategic plan, outlined matters such as changes in discount rates, changes in investment mix, and frankly, changes in the overall economic environment that will provide challenges to CalPERS as moving forward. I would submit that those challenges and those changes can also provide opportunity. And we would submit that one opportunity you have is to change auditors and to select us to be that provider going forward. You are the largest pension system in the United States, and we are the largest professional services firm in the world. So we have the resources and the ability to help navigate those changes with you into the future. So a couple specific reasons as why we think we're a great fit. First, quality. Simply put, we are number one. That is not some sort of glib statement put together by our marketing folks. As you can see from the bottom left chart up here, that is a statement of fact that comes from our public regulator, the PCAOB, through their inspection results. Over the past several years, we are the undisputed leader in quality in those audits, whereas some of our competitors have had and still continue to have struggles. We put the big four up there, but even if you go beyond that to the other tier firms, there are more spotty quality concerns there as well. Make no mistake, that audit quality, whether serving a public entity that is subject to review or serving a private entity or a GASB entity like CalPERS, permeates the culture of the firm. The folks you see at this table have been on quality audits across those realms, and we have the confidence and the courage to bring that level of quality to your audit here. Secondly, our preeminent size and our quality has allowed us to invest in innovative, game-changing technologies. Some of those are listed on the second slide, but items such as DNAV, Deloitte Connect, and data analytics allow us to design tests that are both efficient and effective. But beyond that, there are some positive externalities to CalPERS. First, Deloitte Connect, which is our tool for communicating with CalPERS management, provides a secure portal by which PII and other sensitive data can travel between CalPERS and us. And it's also well lauded as being very user-friendly and a great interface that should actually reduce the amount of daily work that the CalPERS folks have to do in meeting our audit requirements and our audit requests. Secondarily, and arguably more important, is because we're able to have technologies that can look at large subsets of data or entire sets of data, we are not randomly picking things to test. We're able to see more of the big picture, and sometimes, from time to time, find insights that can actually, although being used for our audit, can be used to provide insights to CalPERS management about pieces of their data and help them possibly streamline operations out of that. So finally, industry. On the second page, as you can see, we are industry leaders across the board. CalPERS is not a simple organization. It does not require an audit team that has one narrow set of skill sets. We are bringing the best of the best from our investment management industry, the best of the best from our pension industry, and the best of the best from our GASB and actuarial services. And those industries themselves are industry leading. So to conclude, I submit that now is the time to embrace the change that is coming to CalPERS, this time in the form of selecting Deloitte as your independent auditor. You will not be alone. If we can go to the first slide, you will see that we are the leader in new Fortune 1000 wins on the slide on the bottom right, and we are the only Big Four firm with a net positive win ratio. We are also recognized by Forbes as the top professional accounting services firm in their yearly list of the top 100 companies to work for. We believe there's a lot of reasons for that, but some of them are our focus on equal pay, the diversity that is embedded in our culture, and our innovative technologies not only make the audit product better, but it makes it more fun for people to be on the audit and they want to stay longer. So, ultimately, why should you change? We believe that our quality, insight-developing technologies, and leading industry expertise are absolutely the hallmarks of our firm, and we are the best positioned to partner with you as you embark upon the change for the next 5 years. So we thank you for your time, and now we would like to entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you. I guess we can stop the clock and go to put the clock on for questions. An initial question or clarification that sometimes concerns me when you go to the investment side of our balance sheet, like I get concerned with whether we're seeing the true financial reality of the companies we're invested in regarding off-balance sheet items and whether they're being factored into the financial reality that we're looking at.
So that's a great question, and the answer is that is part of the fair valuation process, but I'd like to turn it over to Tim Mundy to have a stab at that.
Thank you.
And I guess for an element of clarification, it was a pleasure to meet you all as well. You have a number of different asset classes in which you're invested in. There's been an enormous amount of press about the delay in the true value in private equity and venture capital.
Right.
Well, it's very simple. It'll continue as long as you use what we consider guideline public companies. If you look at the information, when you go to value a private company, you use information of companies that are like you. They're public, so that information is out there. 1231 comes around. As of January 15th, you're running information pulling what their multiples are. Well, when did they publish their last multiples? 9/30.
Right.
10/30. Well, they may have missed the entire window of what happened in the last 45 days of the year. So that when the chairman of Lowe's comes out and says, I don't understand why this went down 10%, this asset class went down 8%, and private equity was flat, you're absolutely right. It's a valid concern. That is exactly how the pricing process goes. If you wait, and this I'm dealing more in quarters and cycles, recognizing you're at a 630, by the time we get to a point in time, management will have said that we believe it's worth X. We will have come up with a value because then at whether 630, 1231, when those get published, I'll slow down for a minute, give you for example. 1231 doesn't generally get published until February 15th or later, when publics start issuing through their Ks what their multiples are. So if your valuation is done any time before that 45-day window after period, it will have stale or end data. And all of those things won't come out. There's a tremendous lag in the industry right now with private equity values coming out at a point in time.
Right.
Now, that was a hopefully not too detailed, too confusing, but
No, but I appreciate the answer, and thank you. Ms. Brown.
Thank you. We're asking the same questions of all the interviewees, so you probably already answered this in your opening remarks, but what sets your firm apart from the other public accounting firms, and why should we pick you? I think you've kind of done it, but just give us 30 seconds one more time.
Well, sure. You've heard from me from about 10 minutes, so I don't know if anybody else here at the panel would like to just add anything. I mean, I can.
Yeah, go ahead. And it's to your left. Yeah, you got it. You got it.
You got it.
We're good. So definitely what differentiates us is our people. I'm a transplant into Deloitte, and I will tell you it's probably been the best experience. And we don't go to an audit without our team. Sometimes I call them my superheroes. The other thing that really differentiates us and brings out the quality is our technology. The firm's gone through a whole transformation process in bringing in data analytics, in bringing in Argus, a whole bunch of tools, and we've seen it elevate our quality and what we're able to do with an audit. So data analytics, you've got all of the census data that goes into the valuation of the pension plan. We use a data analytics tool to analyze it in risk assessment, but we're also finding that by getting to look at 100% of the population, not just random sampling, we can risk assess a little bit better, and we're able to identify issues ahead of time. So I had a client where the data analytics tool noticed that there were 700 changes in dates of birth. which you'd kind of go, that's a problem. And when we went through it with our client, it turned out that our client had changed how they reported the fields, but had neglected to communicate it with their external auditors. And it ultimately became a material error that had to be corrected. But the insight and visibility that we have through these tools, and it's not just our data analytics for census data, Tim's team uses it for the investment valuation and looking at an entire portfolio. We get to visibly see more and to dig in, and it just brings a level of quality that, you know, makes it actually exciting for us to be auditors and know what we're doing and able to communicate and work.
Your excitement proves to me that you're an auditor.
Yeah, we happen to be a little weird, like we love auditing. So one of the things that I want to stress is part of DNAV and part of our structure is we are going to take a look at the 17,500 securities, all of them. We're not going to sample based on that's not as important as this is as important. It's kind of the 80-20 rule. 80% of the portfolio will take us 20% of the time. It's the real estate, it's the derivative use, it's the private equity, it's the venture capital. I'll know and be able to report to you, because we will report after 45 days, after 60 days, I'll say, hey, listen, there's a risk of the portfolio of shifting based on data that was provided initially, like we would tell you now, because there is a risk, and we do that because we do the audit. You prepare it, we go into it, and when we pull the public comps, they've changed. So we know where the direction they're going after management has prepared it. No flaw, just timing and a process. And that's what we would do. And so we're doing almost 100%. I never say a full 100% because some things are worthless, and I audit zero well.
Great, that was a good 30 seconds.
Thank you. Ms. Paquin for Betty Yee.
Yes, hi. Could you please explain your rationale for your fees and the staffing hours that you have across all 5 years of the contract?
Great, so I'll start that off. So I think like we assembled a team with the expertise in bringing answers to audit questions as they might arise. We also assembled the budget in the same way, meaning that Tim, being the expert in the investment valuation, took a look at your portfolio and said, this is what the portfolio is. I've audited portfolios like this. Let's build up the hours, I would say, from the bottom up and making sure that those hours were commensurate with the work in each level. Like we've said, we're the #1 quality firm. We don't do that by taking hours lightly and taking budgets lightly. We make sure we have enough hours to make sure that it is correct. So I'd like to turn this over a little bit to Peter Mann to talk through a little bit of the hours on sort of the GASB work and how that was built up, just as a specific example.
Well, thanks, James. We have significant experience serving retirement systems throughout the U.S. We've served several over the years, and as James mentioned, I recently served for several years as the lead on the Utah Retirement Systems audit. So we have experience in knowing what's required and how many hours it takes to get these audits done. You know, we understand the responsibility that you have in providing accurate information out to the various employers and their auditors throughout the state that rely on this information and recording these amounts correctly in their financial statements. There's a lot of people relying on this information and a lot of responsibility in making sure it gets done right. And in looking at the GASB 68 schedules and the 74 schedules and what's required in there, we understand how many hours it takes to test the contributions in there, the benefit payments, which have actuarial factors, and we involve Michael on our team in helping to make sure we look at those, and those are reported accurately. And it's very much looking at what these schedules, they very much have followed a substantive approach too. There's a couple of different approaches you can take in looking at these GASB 68 schedules and providing this information out to the employers. What's been taken and what's been followed is a very substantive-based approach, where in particular with the agent plan, the opinion on those schedules are by individual rate plan. And with over 400 rate plans in that schedule, that's opining on each of those individual columns. So it's testing the contributions, the benefit payments associated with each of those. And that takes a lot of effort. With the cost-sharing schedules, with all the various census data and employers participating, there's a requirement and obligation for us to get comfortable with that census data in the aggregate and in how it's being allocated out to the pension liabilities, how it's being allocated out to the individual employers, and it takes time to do all that. So it's very much, our hours are based on a buildup of experience in having served retirement systems and having lived this, and following a substantive-based approach that's been taken in the past. There are alternative approaches that could be looked at in the future. The AICPA has put out a couple of different approaches in helping employers and their auditors in getting comfortable with these schedules. And one of the approaches is more of a controls-based approach, where instead of for the agent plan opining on each individual rate plan in that schedule, it would be to step back and opine on it on the whole, on the totals, and then to have a SOC 1 report done on the controls around the maintenance of information and the allocation of amounts to those individual rate plans. So there's alternatives that can be pursued and looked at that might down the road affect how we might scope and might affect hours and ultimately fees. And knowing those options are there is helpful, but very much our fees are based on us understanding what's required to take place in order to get information audited in a quality fashion so that we can make sure we're adhering to the standards that we hold ourselves to and the profession holds us to, and that it's information that can be relied on.
Thank you very much. Mr. Slayton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'd like you to expand a little bit on your view regarding internal controls and how you look at them in terms of review. You're not auditing the internal controls, but you are reviewing them. So would you comment about how you would, what your philosophy is in regard to that?
So absolutely, great question. So you are correct. In the current environment, there is no requirement to test what we call the operating effectiveness of internal controls to therein reduce your substantive testing. It's an option, but there's no requirement. And so one thing that we are required to do, and always required to do, is to understand the key significant controls, both at an entity level and then also on the key areas of the audit that are key to those processes, and evaluate those for the design. Are they designed correctly? Do you have segregation of duties if there are systems involved, or are those systems protected? And then also for their implementation at a point during the year. So the way I would put it is, in those key areas, we need to understand the processes. We need to understand the controls. We need to evaluate how they develop the data that is then used to substantively perform our procedures. But beyond that, as far as testing them for operating effectiveness, absent what Peter mentioned earlier, where there's an election made to take a more controls-based approach, that is generally how we would approach that as part of the audit process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yeah, what are the advantages or disadvantages to having in-house actuaries versus subcontracting out for this work while performing financial statement audits for CalPERS?
So thank you very much for that question. I'm particularly excited because I get to turn it over to Michael here, who has not had a chance to speak yet. So
absolutely. Great, thank you. Yeah, again, Michael De Leon, pleasure to meet you all. And again, I lead our public sector pension and OPEB actuarial practice for Deloitte. What you have with Deloitte is a full-service actuarial consultancy. So we don't have any outsourcing that we related to this. We handle all of that in-house. And, you know, what you get with the benefit of having one team that has both the consultant and audit mindset is the value of our synergies and being able to work as one team with our auditors. You know, from a consulting perspective, as you can see on the slide there that's still up there, we are recognized externally as a clear leader in retirement benefits consulting. And what that consultant side benefits you is that, you know, we understand the problems that you're facing, the challenges that you're dealing with, because, you know, like on a day-to-day basis, I'm working with clients similar to you with state and local governments with their pensions, their retiree health challenges, you know, really just addressing the same types of complexities that you're facing. So we sort of, you know, we can empathize with your concerns and the challenges you're addressing. From the audit perspective, you know, we bring, it's ingrained in us as part of Deloitte, because pretty much the majority of our actuaries also provide audit services. And, you know, so we've sort of built that in from the ground up. We've created annual training sessions, for example, that all of our actuaries who participate in audits have to complete. We've developed procedures. The actuaries have actually developed the procedures in concert with the auditors so that they're, well thought out, technically sound ways of addressing the actual portions of your audit. So, bringing sort of the best of both worlds and then working together with our auditors as we have as one team is what I think will be the ultimate benefit to CalPERS of having it in-house.
Thank you. Mr. Ruffino?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Two-part question. Does your firm currently perform any work for CalPERS? If so, and if awarded this contract, how will your firm ensure its independence to perform the financial statement audits?
So I can answer the first question. As part of going through the RFP process, we did what's called a conflict check, which means we send out sort of a blast email to anybody that is looking to or might be providing services to CalPERS or its affiliates. And so there is an ongoing discussion with our consulting team about providing some what we would call minor valuation support services for a very limited immaterial amount of the portfolio. We have already checked with them. We've actually checked with our independence group. That amount is, once again, determined to be immaterial and therefore would not impair our independence should that contract be finalized. So that's the first question about the services being provided. What I would tell you is on the ongoing efforts, we have a very robust system of controls to monitor independence. Any entity that is a restricted entity, which is what you become if you are under audit, enters into a system, and that system then is integrated and linked up with any affiliate, so that anytime anybody would want to perform a service, they would then have to go through myself or another delegate to see if that service was permissible under the applicable standards. Addition to that, on an individual level, relationships are looked at. So depending on who might be at the firm and what role, certain relationships are permitted with CalPERS folks, certain ones are not. And so there's a very robust system of control that is implemented on a real-time basis to monitor for independence at all times.
Thank you.
Thank you. And could you please describe your firm's data protection capabilities? As the largest asset owner and with over 2 million current active retirees and healthcare benefits, that's a concern for us.
So absolutely. So first, we have a very large document that is available to all of us, and then upon being selected is available actually to you folks as well, that talks about several things. One, we have double encryption for all of our Deloitte softwares. So to put it mildly, for me to even get into my own work, I have to sort of sign in and then sign in again, and it's encrypted once and twice, and there's something called multi-factor authentication where we get codes sent to us personally that we have to do to get in. So that's one thing. Secondarily, Deloitte Connect, which I mentioned earlier, which is the hub of the transmission of data between CalPERS and our audit team, meets the federal standards for PII and PHI. So that's where all the data would be kept, and our people receive training on privacy matters and things of that nature on an annual basis. And so beyond that, like, there's an 18 to 20 page document that goes through all the server items and stuff like that. But yes, there is an immense amount of data protection and data encryption that goes along with everything that we use and we do for an audit.
Thank you. Mr. Slayton.
Thank you. So, CalPERS is constantly impacted by new laws and regulations, and I know you're a large national firm, but what do you do to make sure that the people who are working on our engagement here are up to speed on those changes?
Yes, so, and I might turn this over to Peter on some of the GASB-oriented items, but I would say we have two types of trainings, if you will, and two types of pieces of information open to us. On a real-time basis, on a weekly basis, we have firm emails that come out and basically say, here is everything that has changed, and that is GASB, that is FASB, that is the IASB. It is sort of worldwide, so we have that. Secondarily, we have a saying that says, Deloitte does that. At the end of the day, we have experts from everywhere in the firm, across all industries, we have a regulatory practice, who do this on a daily basis. So to the extent that we have something set up to get information about CalPERS or about California law, we have automatic data feeds that come to my computer where I can reach out immediately and say, hey, Julie, I saw something's going on in Sacramento. Can you let me know what's going on? And within an hour, I have an answer so we can make sure our team is immediately updated onto that. And that goes in addition to the large things like tax reform and other things that impact, I would say, all of our audit clients that happen on a national training basis as well.
Okay, time's up. Thank you very much for your time. This concludes the 30-minute interview, and I would like to thank all of you for your time and to please leave the auditorium now. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah. Okay. Who? Yeah. I'm most, and I feel that this firm knows the investment side best. No comparison. Investment side. Right. The security and analytics. Right. They're in the league. Yeah. I even know the second guy, you know, I just felt they weren't in our league. Okay. Okay. We're just, thank you very much. Please be, so we're just waiting for one or two board members to come back. Just give us a few minutes. Thank you. No, we're waiting for Bill. Yours or mine? One sec. Cool. Welcome. Thank you for coming this afternoon. We really appreciate your time and having you here. You will have 10 minutes for your presentation. At the end of 10 minutes, we will have a 20-minute period for question and answers. There's going to be a timed clock. If you'll notice that to your left are buttons for your microphone. You can tell when they're on because there's this little red dot. And as soon as you begin to speak, the clock will start running. One sec, I want to make sure the clock. Feel free to start. We look forward to hearing from you.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I know that I'm somewhat of a familiar face to some of the committee members, but for the record, my name's Brock Romano. I'm the lead audit engagement partner for our CalPERS team responsible for all of the audit services. On behalf of our team, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to present our qualifications to you today. As you can see, we've assembled a representative list of our key engagement team members, as well as some members from our local California business unit office leadership. In the interest of sticking to the timed agenda, 3 of us will be making the firm's formal remarks in this 10 minutes. And the others will anxiously await questions, at which time they'll introduce themselves, their role in the team, as well as respond to the question. Today, you're going to hear a common theme from us, and that's trust and confidence in an experienced engagement team supported by the vast resources of the firm. At KPMG, we believe that that trust and confidence is earned. Undoubtedly, you've heard from the other firms how they plan to earn that trust and confidence. Only KPMG, as your incumbent, has a demonstrated track record of meeting your deliverables, thereby earning that trust and confidence. In just our first year as your auditors, we've been able to demonstrate how a large firm can be nimble. From the time we were hired in June, when we signed the contract, to the time we delivered the CAFR in November, was a span of about 5 months. An audit of this size and complexity traditionally should take somewhere between 7 and 8 months. And if we're fortunate enough to retain CalPERS as a client, our audit plan would start with field work in April of this year. Another example of the nimbleness of KPMG is in December of this year, we were asked to accelerate one of the deliverables. That's the GASB 75 OPEB report. We were asked to do that because one of the public agencies needed those reports, that report, to meet some of their reporting requirements. And so we reprioritized our audit effort, and we got that report out about a month ahead of schedule from last year. And because there was some anxiety at the time between the public agencies and the questions that were being asked, we actually went the extra step to make contact with our counterparts of that public agency's audit firm to let them know what the expectations and the timelines were, and maybe to curtail the number of phone calls that management was getting from those public agencies. I'm not sure we were successful in shortening the number of phone calls that were arrived, but we certainly got that audit report done in time. I also want to talk a little bit about the benefits of working with a large firm. Our local California offices supplied the 75-plus professionals who worked on this engagement this year. We also have a dedicated national resource for our technical accounting group and our actuarial services. And while oftentimes those technical resources act primarily as in an audit support role, there was a lot of client-facing responsibility with our specialists this year. Numerous phone calls. We even had several on-site visits by the head of our national, individual heads our national technical group to help us navigate some of the complex accounting pronouncements and just digest some of the complexities of CalPERS. We also stuck to our commitment of no fee surprises. And if it's fair game with the committee, I'd like to talk a little bit about fees. We've obviously seen the fee proposals, and while we're the only bidder who truly understands the scope of services involved in meeting your scope requirements, we're not tone deaf to the competition and the allure of a low-cost alternative. So we're prepared today to lower our fees by 10%, and we're going to do that in a couple of ways. One, we're going to increase our participation from our disabled veteran partner from just over 3% to a minimum of 5%. We're also going to pull forward any of the planned audit efficiencies that we hope to capture over the life of this contract. And while it's uncertain whether we're ever going to be able to realize those planned efficiencies, we're willing to take that risk and make that as a commitment to CalPERS and a demonstration of how we desire to forge a long-term relationship with you. The other point I want to make relative to fees is as your incumbent, there's no transition cost with us. You've already made that investment in us. Management has already shown us through the learning curve. And I suspect that there are some members of management that may be privately cringing at the thought of having to do that again in such a short period of time. But with KPMG, there's no opportunity cost there. So we believe our fee reduction plus the no transition costs will offer a compelling alternative, at least as it relates to fees, to our competitors. And in the Q&A session that follows, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions the committee might have on fees. But in the interest of time, I'm going to turn it over to, we have two other presenters. I'm going to turn it over now to Packy Kelly, who's going to talk about KPMG's investment in the public sector space, as well as the California support of our CalPERS team.
Thank you, Brock, and good afternoon. I'm the head of audit for KPMG in Northern California, so I have overall responsibility for all our audit resources and the local resources that deliver your audit. I'm here to emphasize that KPMG is dedicated to the public sector space. While other firms have reduced their focus, we have sustained that commitment to the public sector space. Your team has dedicated their careers to serving the public sector. And what that means is that decades of experience that they have gained allows them to effectively handle any type of specialized accounting and reporting matter that they may need to address, with the support of resources in our national office that are also dedicated to the public sector. Our asset management capability, another benefit of working with a large global firm with a strong local presence, also aligns with your priorities in successful investment for the well-being of your members. We have a global leadership position in asset management with a dedicated group with experience in all types of investments, from simple level 1 equities to hard to value hybrid instruments. CalPERS will significantly continue to benefit from our asset management group that is conveniently located nearby in Walnut Creek. I stand behind this team and will deliver the resources for them to build on the success that they had in last year and continue to provide an outstanding service.
Thank you, Packy. My name is Lisa Avis, and I will continue to serve as the lead managing director on this engagement. I have 20 years of experience, all in the government sector. Part of that included a practice fellowship with the Governmental Accounting Standards Board and a rotation to our national office. I just want to touch on a couple of key points that my colleagues here said, because we truly believe that our audit plan aligns with the strategic goals and initiatives that you have in your strategic plan. So, you know, we are the incumbent. We audited the CAFR. One thing noted in the CAFR is that it is one of the core missions to invest in California. Well, by working with us, you're essentially investing in California because we are based here in California. Our office is 2 blocks away. Packy mentioned our commitment across California and the Bay. Brock mentioned the 75 professionals. Those are jobs that we have here in California, investing in California. With the close proximity here, we have been here for CalPERS when needed. This is a complex entity, and trying to gain an understanding remotely, it just can't happen. You need to be here walking the halls to truly understand what a complex entity this is. Other initiatives include reducing complexity, gaining efficiencies, improving productivity. We want to work cohesively as a team and with CalPERS to gain some of those efficiencies. You will see no decrease in productivity because, as Brock stated, there are no transition costs. CalPERS is seen globally, they're globally recognized as a leader in retirement systems. Other retirement systems look to you. You're the benchmark for what they want to achieve. You are a trendsetter, and you need a firm who understands you. And I think that's reflective of the core team that we have there on the slide. Our subject matter professionals, they're not just people we call upon every now and then. They are part of our core team because that's what an entity like this needs. In closing, I just want to highlight that, yes, we have the experience. However, you need the right type of experience. Our experience with GASB plans far exceed those of FASB plans. Our experience with agent multiple employer plans exceeds those of cost-sharing plans. And our experience with CalPERS, we haven't seen anything like CalPERS. You truly are unique. So, like I said, you need a firm who not only has the right experience, but you need the relevant experience. And we are that firm. So we want to thank you for the time we had to present here, and we'd like to open it up for any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll set the clock for questions. My first question is, there were 2 PCAOB reports showing significant deficiencies in a high percentage of KPMG's 2016 and 2017 audits. Can you address that?
Yeah, let me address that. I think you're referring to the reports that were just released in January of this year.
Correct.
And those reports covered our 17 and 16 reports, which were audits that were inspected in 15, 16. And it did show that we had a higher degree of findings than some of the other firms that are in our class. In the top 6, there were others that were higher than us, but we were not satisfied with those results. And we've made significant investments to address those areas, which are common across the profession as it relates to internal controls to select for testing and accounting and auditing for estimates. Those reports are on a lag. We know that the inspections that we are making improvements, that the inspections that were just done in the 2018 cycle for the 2017 audits will show improvement. And so we're very confident that the significant steps that we're making to address those areas and increase our quality will provide those results and will have no effect on our ability to effectively serve you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Paquin for Ms. Yee.
Thank you. And thank you for touching on your fees and appreciate the offer to make the fee adjustment. I was just curious if you could explain your original fees and rationale for how you put together the staffing plan over the 5-year contract.
Sure. And I think... Thank you. So our original plan was based on our experience here. When we initially proposed back in last March, we were kind of proposing a little blindly. When we put together our audit plan for the first RFP and continue that audit plan for this RFP, it was really based on our understanding of CalPERS and the level of complexity and some of the complicating factors that go in here. So I like to look at our fees through a different prism. Our fees are based because we have the highest knowledge of CalPERS and what it takes to do the scope of work here. At some point in time in our presentation, and maybe this is a good time to talk about some of the complexities that go into CalPERS. And I want to maybe preface this a little bit. Lisa touched upon the firm's experience, and I think part of having the experience means having the right relevant experience, and Lisa went through that exercise with you. And at the end, she said, "There's really nobody like CalPERS." And I'd like to share a personal experience, if I could, as to why that's relevant. Willis Towers Watson put together a list of the 300 largest pension plans. We filtered that by U.S. government pension plans. Of the top 30 U.S. pension plans, KPMG audits 6 of them. I work on 5 of them. I'm the lead audit partner for CalPERS. I'm the lead audit partner, a previous lead audit partner for another firm, and that's 6. I'm the current concurring review partner for 2 of those firms, and I'm the GASB 68 specialist on the remaining firm. And I'm going to tell you that there was nothing in that experience with these very large plans that prepared me for the level of complexity that we saw here at CalPERS, particularly in the agent plans. Your Perf C plan, I would bore you to death if I went into the minutia why that's complex, but that is a hugely complex system, something that, quite frankly, I hadn't seen before in a national office. Really had to help us through that exercise. But I do want to continue on that theme of complexity. I've got a couple colleagues here that I've asked to speak to some of the complexities that we saw, especially on census and on the agent plan. So I'm going to ask Brianne, if I'm looking in the right direction, Brianne, to maybe talk a little bit about the census complexities, and then we'll have Bridget talk about the agent plan complexities.
Great. Thanks, Brock. Thank you, committee, for having me here today. I'm thrilled to be here. My name is Brianne, as Brock said. I'm an audit managing director here in California. I have 16 years of experience, all of which have been primarily serving the government space, such as yourself. So I know what it's like. I know the challenges you face. As Brock alluded, I oversaw the census data component of your audit. And on the surface, I think this appears simple. But you peel back the onion, and there's layers of complexity there. The first is really the volume. We tested over 4,000 participants. And I think that that's about 3 to 4 times what has historically been done. And we felt that that was necessary to comply with firm or professional standards. And it takes a small army to get through that many people. It really does. And this isn't an army that can be in some windowless room in the back corner or some automated bot that you could program to do this. This needs a person. You need to get on the phone. You need to contact public agencies. You need to contact schools. You need to understand how they develop or how they gather the information, how they record it, how they transmitted it to you, where the risk points are. And you need to be able to see the big picture. You need to understand how CalPERS works. You need to be able to identify trends and analytically address the data. The data is very informative if you understand it and if you understand CalPERS. And we understand CalPERS. And part of that is knowing where we think we can gain efficiencies. And I think this is certainly an area that should be more efficient and absolutely could be more efficient. I believe we've provided management with several ideas, and I won't bore you with all my ideas today. I don't think we have time, but I know that this is an area of improvement, and it will be beneficial for management, it's beneficial for everybody. I think we asked management for help with 500. We called them anomalies, things that we couldn't explain, and that was down from talking to the public agencies. So I think that efficiency in this area is key, and it would generate benefits to management. And I know that our commitment to you as partners and our investments in you will generate that, and I look forward to implementing that.
Mr. Slayton?
Oh. Yeah, let me find here is my question.
So we wanted to maybe continue that theme if we could, just for a minute with Bridget, if that's acceptable to the committee.
I apologize.
No problem. Thank you. My name is Bridget Jerfy. I'm a senior manager in our Sacramento office, and I was the lead engagement manager for CalPERS. I did a rotation in our national office focusing on pension plans, and I also have over 11 years of audit experience, including pension plans and government. So the area I wanted to talk to you guys about is your agent plans. So you guys have two agent plans. You have PERF A and you have OPEB. For these two plans combined, we issue 2 audit opinions, but that 2 audit opinions covers almost 1,000 mini opinions, because we're opining on each one of those employers and those schedules. So that essentially is about 1,000 mini audits that we have to do. And like Brock mentioned in one of our ways to lower our fees for you guys and increase our hours with the disabled veterans, this is an area that we can have them help us with. But there is also some efficiency that can be gained here. Currently, the way that it's set up, we have to opine on each employer. The standards allow us to take a different approach, and we can have our ERM team get involved, so our IT folks, and they can help us do a SOC 1 Type 2 report, and we can issue 1 opinion over PERF A. So instead of having approximately 435 opinions for PERF A, you would have 1, which would allow us to gain efficiencies, be easier for the CalPERS financial reporting group, and also gain efficiencies on the audit side.
And I just wanted to make one final point on this. I know it's a long answer to a question, but there's a lot of key elements here. You had talked about our level of effort. Our level of effort this year includes an incremental effort as it relates to our IT resources. So our audit next year includes an incremental level of effort related to our IT resources, so we can start to frame out whether we could achieve the type of reliance on your IT system that would allow us to offer you the other option of, instead of auditing 1,000 mini plans, to have follow the alternative method, which we think would lead to efficiencies, potentially lower fees. So we're making an investment in a little bit of an unknown as part of the relationship building here, because we think it's the best long-term solution for CalPERS. Our fee proposal was not put together to impress you with a 1-year fee. It was put together to show you the demonstration of what we could do over a long-term relationship, and that's what I think is in the best interest of CalPERS.
Go ahead.
Okay. Could you talk a bit about your viewpoint of the extent to which you look at internal controls? You know, you're not being asked to audit internal controls, but you do examine them, you do look at them. So can you kind of give us a little bit of your philosophy regarding internal controls?
Sure. I think internal controls are key, and I think I think getting our IT folks involved to testing some of your IT controls is critical. I think that a lot of the public agencies look at CalPERS as somewhat of an outsourced organization. And my CalPERS is the reporting engine of that membership management data. Having our IT specialist take a look and evaluate and test those IT controls, I think would be a value add, not only to CalPERS, but also a value add to your public agencies. This year, we were drinking through a fire hose, quite literally, from the time we were hired in the middle of June to get all the deliverables together. So we focused a little bit more on a substantive approach this year, just because of the nature of the hire and the timeline involved. But our approach is that understanding controls is the value add that we can add to you. So we did test a lot of those controls during the course of the audit. We didn't test as many of them as we would have liked to, just because of the circumstances that we were hiring and getting the audit done. But we're not going to issue an opinion on internal controls, but they're going to be a key element of our audit going forward.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yeah. What are the advantages, disadvantages to having in-house actuaries versus subcontracting for this work while performing financial audits for CalPERS?
Thank you for the question. My name is Steve Eisenstein, and I'm one of the actuaries that's part of your team. I am part of KPMG's audit practice. I've been here, been practicing as an actuary for 32 years. Over half of that time has been with Big Four accounting firms. And in my role there has really been to communicate both complex and technical information to our clients, such as CalPERS, as well as to the audit teams. To answer your question directly, I think that the experience that we have within our firm with our actuaries, and we have 5 actuaries that serve CalPERS across a variety of areas. Some of those actuaries are on the pension side, such as myself. You have actuaries working with you on the self-funded healthcare and actuaries working with you on the long-term care. We bring our experience to the table. We work very closely with our audit brethren, with our Department of Professional Practice. And in doing so, we also are very focused in on the accounting standards. This is what we do. So we're not, while we have broad experience from all of our years of experience doing different things, being inside the accounting firm environment allows us to focus in on the accounting standards and the specifics when it comes to GASB of what is needed for CalPERS in order to be able to provide the type of services that help you, they help our audit team get you to the right answer and get you the highest quality audit that we can get you to.
Thank you. And can you describe for me your firm's data protection capabilities?
So KPMG believes that one of the most valuable items that come through our hands is your data, and it comes through to us in a variety of ways. The most sensitive area is in the area of the census work, and while that work is not the most complex work, it's the type of work that we can't entrust to subcontractors or folks that don't understand and appreciate the need to protect that data. So we spend a lot of time with our census team making sure they understand the type of information that they're handling and how sensitive that information is. And we take steps to make sure that that data is appropriately received through our encrypted portal. So the public agencies are permitted through our technology to send data to us electronically. It's over our network subject to our security protocols. We receive it, we inventory it, and then we test it and archive it. We're also utilizing CalPERS systems to the extent possible. So to the extent we don't need to take data out of your system, we use MyCalPERS, and we were given dedicated access to MyCalPERS so we could log on site. Another reason why having local resources is important, because a lot of the work has to physically be done here because of the concerns about technology and sensitivity of safeguarding of data. A lot of the data is actually accessed on your networks here on site with our team members.
Thank you very much. Ms. Brown.
Thank you. I know you've probably addressed this in the opening comments, but let me go ahead and ask the question again. What sets your firm apart from other public accounting firms, and why should we select your firm?
Excellent. I think that's an excellent question. And I think, and I'm just going to come out and say it. I think we care deeply about the relationship. And I gave an example in my opening remarks purposely as an example of what we think differentiates us from the other accounting firm. There was an anxious moment in December when it was realized that one of your public agencies needed a report that wasn't scheduled to be done until the end of February. And there was a lot of angst over that. And while we assured everybody that we would get that report done in time for their reporting needs, we went the extra step and reached out. We offered to reach out directly to that public agency and speak to that to the management. It was advised that we don't. We then offered to reach out to our counterparts at the CPA firm so we could help manage the expectations so that they could help manage the expectations of your clients. Something that wasn't required, wasn't necessary, something we thought was important to the relationship. And I think it's an example of the degree of client-centric service that KPMG kind of breeds into you. Having been here 30 years, I truly believe that this team, if I'm bold enough to say it, cares as deeply as in your success as we do ours.
Thank you.
This team has the skill and will to serve you. They've been preparing their whole careers for this opportunity, and they've delivered for you and have the passion and the desire and the full scope of skill sets and capabilities to meet all your needs with the combination of specialists, with the combinations of public sector experience, and with the combination of industry experience. So we know in working in professional services that we have strong competitors, and it comes down to the skill and the will of the team that's before you today.
If I can just add one more comment to that. So I'm Seth Blackman. Sorry. So I'm an audit partner in our asset management practice located here in the Bay Area. And one differentiating factor that I see day in, day out is the size and depth and breadth of our investments team. So our asset management team audits products across the spectrum from domestic U.S. equities to the most complex derivative transactions across the globe. KPMG has the largest asset management practice here, and that we're here to serve you. So this past year was an effort that we had 25 dedicated local professionals within our asset management team here in Northern California working with you. So I think that really aligns very well with CalPERS and your mission, and really is one of the major reasons why I think that we're best suited to continue with your audit work.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see no further question. Oh, I'm sorry, Bill, it doesn't show up. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So, as you know, CalPERS, like all pension funds, are impacted by new regulations and by new laws. And we know you're you're a huge firm. But how do you assure yourself that the people who are working on our engagement are up to speed?
That's the industry specialization that we talk to. We have a dedicated group in our national office that follows new developments and puts out thought leadership. And it's not just for our team, it's for also bringing insights to your team. That is the #1 benefit of having that industry specialization. Day in and day out, they are living and breathing the issues that are going to impact your organization, and have a duty to stay current with that and have a responsibility responsibility as part of the service that we deliver to share it so that you have the benefit of all the deep experience that we have. If that is not transferring in dialogue, if that's not coming to life in terms of insights, then we're not doing our job. And we see that as our duty and responsibility as part of providing an outstanding service. And we have the resources and the capabilities to follow the complex regulations as they're issued.
Right. Thank you. Sorry, your time's up. I wanted to thank you very much and for being here. And now I'll ask you to leave the auditorium. And thank you for your time.
I didn't realize.
I know. What? Thank you. 1 second, I just want to wait till the door's shut. Thank you so much. Okay. We will now determine an interview score for each of the finalists. And the maximum score is 700. And I think what makes the most sense here is maybe for us to have initially a conversation on who we thought did the best job, because what Bill and I figured out in the RFP process is you can be a low bid and it scales it. So these are, I'll just start with my thoughts. And my thoughts are this. My concern with KPMG is the headline risk, because they have a significant percentage of their audits in 2016 and 2017 were deficient, and I believe their trial started today. So I have a concern about them. The firm that I clearly, Matt, is that correct regarding KPMG? That's, I mean, I think their trial is starting today, and it had to do with their audit.
I missed the question, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just saying my concern with KPMG was that they had a significant percentage of their audits were considered deficient in 2016 and 2017.
Those are the correct years, yes.
Yeah.
The PCAOB came out with reports in January of this year.
Yeah.
With that finding.
So my concern,
And the trial for the audit partner started this week. I don't think it was today. It was.
Pardon,
Monday.
Marley?
The trial.
Yeah, the trial. So my concern is I don't think we need any more headline risk. And the way I saw it, I was most impressed with Deloitte's knowledge on the investment side of the team, and I like. Does Deloitte have an office here in Sacramento? Yeah, they have an office. I know KPMG did. I felt the firm are they out of Seattle, the other firm, with getting his California licensing. And I'm not sure they had the same depth and breadth and also cyber protection.
Just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that this is open session.
Okay, Ms. Paquin.
Thank you. I just want to ask staff a clarifying question. So when the KPMG team said during their opening remarks that they would lower their proposed rate, does that mean that you need to rescore them right now, or are you scoring them based on the fees they submitted in the proposal?
They're scored on the fees that are submitted. They also do not get to change their score for the DVB participation. However, you do have a question in your interview process regarding fees, and so what they offer to you can be a consideration in your score for the interview based upon that fee question.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to say also I was very impressed with Deloitte. I think the fact that they have a Sacramento office, they have a national footprint, they have invested quite a bit in their data analytics, they have secure technology to safeguard our data, and they have a lot of expertise both on the actuary side and also with the valuation of the assets. I thought that was very impressive, and I do share your concerns about the trial that just started recently.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Miller?
I echo my colleagues' comments. I also noted that, while KPMG, partly in the context of, offering fee relief, mentioned some of the strategies they might have for dealing with that, but I noted that both CLA and Deloitte really specifically identified the analytic capabilities and the application to some of those very efficiencies with reducing things from 1,000, micro audits to one, those type of things. And it just seemed like they were more proactive at addressing those in terms of their responses to our questions here. So I found that both compelling for them and also disappointing that KPMG did not really approach it that way. And I did feel Deloitte overall had a real edge, both on the security, the investment stuff, but also the analytics and their capabilities in terms of data security and analytics as in the context specifically of the jobs we're asking them to do. They really did their homework.
Ms. Brown?
Thank you. This is my first time interviewing really large audit firms like this, and just wanted to go through just a couple of my thoughts. The first team we interviewed, BDO. I liked the idea that they had what sets them apart is they had solutions to problems. The concern for me is that they didn't seem to have a lot of experience. They talked about Delaware, Alaska, and City of Houston. I just don't think they have the relative size experience. The next firm that came in, Clifton Larson, it sounds like we got an amazing price, but they also might be truly underestimating the complexity of CalPERS, in a concern that only Thomas, the domain partner, spoke, and it looked like everybody else was decorations there. I didn't necessarily like that. I was really impressed with Deloitte. They gave a great presentation. It seemed like they worked together. They seem like they're a team. They work together. It's not like they pulled this team together to present. It looks like they seem to work together as a team. Like to hear the women talk. They were very, very nerdy, very experienced. I love that in an auditor. No, it's important. It's important that they love this stuff. And then I will echo the same concerns that our chair and Ms. Paquin said about KPMG. I just think it makes sense for us to step back a little bit on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slayton?
Yeah, I think I am of the same opinion that Deloitte really shined in this effort and certainly would do us a good job. I was intrigued by Clifton Larson and their approach regarding the analytics, but I only heard from one person, so that was a little strange as to why the other people were here to be for the interview and weren't given parts to. So we could get a more of a broad feeling about the team that's being brought in, because I know although it's his daughter's birthday, I'm not sure that sways very much. It's cute, but so I want to ask the rest of the group because I can tell obviously from the commentary that Deloitte is in the top position, but the way the procurement process works is that you're going to enter into negotiations with whoever comes out on top. If those negotiations are not successful, you're going to go to the second one. So to me, an important question now is if you did a ranking now and Deloitte, you put out of, a separate category because everybody seems to have the consensus they're the best, how would you rank the other three? So that we could at least, when we give, and I do have a suggestion for some points, but I would like it to represent, obviously, the consensus of the group, so that when it comes out, we have a number 2 in case the negotiations are not successful. We're comfortable with who the second choice would be. So I would suggest that. Is that okay for me to?
Certainly, you would take the existing score that they have and you would add your interview score and the total score, not just the interview score.
Right.
The total score would be who would get first,
Correct.
second, third, and fourth. And
Correct.
if the negotiations were unsuccessful with the first place company, then we could move to the second place company.
So that's the question I leave for the rest of the committee members.
So then, do I entertain a motion? Oh, I'm
Well,
sorry, Mr.
He wants to know
Miller.
who we think second
No,
best.
I want to see who the group thinks
is second best.
would be second best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll speak. That's what I was
Go ahead.
I really think I would put KPMG third, frankly, for all the reasons stated. And I think that CLA, if it wasn't for my concern that they had kind of, they're arguing that they know they can do this for 40% less. I didn't find that compelling, but on all, in just of scoring their questions, to me, they were number 2, just in terms of their response to this interview, to me.
I know for me, I would probably put BDO number 2 because I felt that, number 1, they don't have the presence here in California, and I wasn't sure if it was a one-man show or not. I didn't see the collaboration in the team. But Ms. Paquin? For number 2.
I would agree that I would put BDO as number 2. I thought that they did come in with a strong team, and I think that their estimation of the number of hours it would take to do this engagement was more realistic.
Same. Okay.
Okay. So
do I get a motion?
I have a motion to make.
Okay. Mr. Slayton?
Let me see if I can, if my
For some
math-
reason, your mic never goes off, so it's...
Okay. All right. So I would propose in the motion that Clifton Larson receive 520 points. And by my math, that becomes 870. I would propose that BDO receive 610 points. That would put them at 876. I would propose that Deloitte receive 680 points, which by my math would put them at 891. And that KPMG receive 660 points, which would put them at 862. So without having to do a whole bunch of math, does the staff agree with my math?
Yeah.
And I think that would rank Deloitte as number 1, BDO as number 2.
No, Kim's saying
You
no.
said
I'm sorry.
660 for KPMG, so you would be ranking KPMG as number 2, Mr. Slayton?
8, I don't think so.
Wait a second.
BDO would have 610. That would give
I'm sorry,
them.
you're talking total score. I was
I'm
looking at your interview
total
score.
I'm not talking about I'm talking about total score, because this is based on total score. Am I correct?
That's
the award.
correct. Your total scores are correct. I was just making sure that your interview scores, as discussed by the committee, reflected what the committee had been discussing.
Right. So that would mean that Deloitte would be ranked number 1 at 891. BDO would be ranked number 2 at 876. Clifton Larson would be ranked number 3 at 870. And KPMG would be ranked 4 at 862. Is my math correct? Okay. So that
gives us.
Is that your motion?
So my motion is to award, here's my motion, because they have to do the calculation and announce the award. That Clifton Larson received 520 points from the interview. That BDO received 610 points from the interview. That Deloitte received 680 points for the interview, and KPMG received 660 points.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay. Now you officially determine when we call them back in. Is that correct? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not chairing this committee.
Maybe a 5-minute break.
Yeah. You got to turn your mic on. We can't hear you.
Sorry. My finger was hovering over it. I guess I just didn't push it. If we could take maybe a 5-minute break so the Belize can update her paperwork and we can bring the companies in, that would be great. Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't think so. I think we're done.
And then we get to watch the redeployment.
Well, it's the quickest closed session you can go. I just have to.
Okay.